segment 2 of tonight's show. And this is how we're going to basically run things from here on out, pending something crazy happening. This is where we are going to revisit the keys to victory. Okay. And we are going to hit the offense first. And we are going to go over what the keys to victory offensively were that were put out on Friday, right, Brian? Is that when you put out your keys to victory? I assume it's on Friday.
Well, the show was on Thursday. I published the articles on Saturday morning.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But the video was done Thursday. The points were all put out Thursday.
Okay, perfect. So one thing we like to do is we like to revisit those keys to victory and see if, Notre Dame checked those boxes or not, and, pending the outcome and all of that fun stuff. So we are going to revisit these offensive keys. Number 1, start fast.
Can I just think big picture?
Yeah, sure.
How polar opposite last week's was. Like, I don't know that they got any of them in any phase. This week's going to be a little bit of a different.
It was like fail. Like it was not.
And it wasn't even like good. It wasn't even like being negative, and it wasn't like, oh, I'm in a bad mood, so they failed everything and they lost it. No, I'm thinking like, no, they literally did not do anything.
Yeah, I felt like I was back in high school. Fail.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. No, we're gonna hit these. One of my favorites, because it's always true for the offense. Start fast.
Yeah,
and did they start fast last week? No, they didn't start fast because. They scored, but then they didn't do anything after that.
Because that's the thing. Starting fast is not just your first series.
Correct.
It's can you do it and put a team away early? Can you respond? And that's the thing, is a lot of people think, hey, if you score your first drive, that's a start. Nope, it's not that. And look, the thing that I talked about, Vince, is starting fast. It really meant a lot of things, right? It was building your own confidence. It was giving your defense confidence in you. Right. It was letting the other team know, hey, guys, I know you think you know what you're seeing today. I know you watched film last week and you think that team is who you're playing today. It is not. You're about to catch one. You know what I mean? And they did. I mean, your first drive, you come out and score a touchdown. It was like last week's first drive, I kind of felt like they had to convert like multiple third downs, and
our
dudes are better than their dudes.
Yeah, they scored on it, which was great. But I remember leaning over to you after that drive is like, well, that wasn't pretty, but at least they got the touchdown.
Right.
Like, I expect things to be better.
Because I came in, I was actually outside when they had that first drive, because I always like to have and I came back in, and that's exactly what you said, Vince. You're like, it wasn't pretty. Like, it just didn't seem like you could just like, okay, this drive was brilliant. Yes. It was a great drive. It wasn't just a big play. It was things that led to a big play.
Right.
But then they scored on drive 3, and then they scored on drive 5. I mean, so you scored on, I think, 2 of your first 3 drives in the first quarter. And so right like that, first quarter's over, you're up 14-0. And like, we're going to talk a lot about how the defense kind of put Purdue away. What helped with that is, hey guys, our offense came to play today.
Right.
Let's do this thing. And so it really served both purposes, Vince. You had to build confidence in yourself. And there was also about giving your defense confidence, and then letting Purdue know, sorry, fellas.
Right.
It's one of my favorite scenes from a movie, Vince, is that scene from Harlem Nights, where Jack Johnson says, don't take this whipping personally. Because he had a really bad stutter in the movie. It's great scene, by the way. That's what, hey, don't take this personally, but you're about to catch one today.
Right.
And the offense set the tone with not just a score, but how they scored, which is, guys, they came out on the attack. They were pushing the tempo. They were moving all around. Everything they did motion-wise had purpose. It wasn't just, let me go motioning here. It was like, I think it was first play, Vince. Let me pull it up. I think first play of the game. They line up in Trey right wing, so like tight end in a wing, slot outside. They immediately hard shift the tight end over, and then bring a fast jet motion to Jaden Harrison and get him the ball. And it was like, okay, they're moving a little bit more tempo today. And then you come out the next drive or next play, and you get a zipper motion that the way they did it, you bring Bo Collins in a really fast zipper motion. Zipper is in and out, and it gets him leverage to where he runs the slide and they completely out leverage the defense. Easy completion for Riley Leonard, right? It was everything about that first drive was, okay, this is a different deal than what we saw. Third play, you motion Jeremiah Love out of the backfield. You know they're going to react to that. And then boom, quarterback counter right up inside of him for a 13-yard gain. There was intentionality, but the players were playing with purpose and fire. And again, it wasn't perfect. They didn't get points on the second drive. Like you would say, hey, how can you be better? Don't have drives that you don't score. And there were 2 of those. I mean, they only had 2 drives in the first half. They didn't score a touchdown out of 7. But yeah, okay, you want to be better? Go 7 for 7. I mean, there's always room to get better.
Sure.
And those are things that you're going to look at, Vince. But overall, I mean, you started fast.
Right.
You came out and started fast. You got scores on 2 of your first 4 drives. You scored on 3 of your first 5. And so, yeah, they put the game away late. But, like, those 3 touchdowns early helped put this game away to where the defense could then feast on the Purdue offense. And once Purdue got out of, hey, you can't be balanced anymore, they had no chance.
Right.
No chance.
But
so succeeded, I would say.
Oh,
check. Yeah. Check plus on that, Vince.
Well, and the one little nugget I wanted to add also was, you mentioned last week and how Notre Dame went down and scored in the first drive. The difference was then Northern Illinois went down and scored a touchdown on a big play, right, in their first drive against the defense. And I felt like that didn't necessarily rattle the defense, but I felt like it rattled the offense.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I want to give an assist to the defense on this because Purdue came out in their first drive and you and I kind of talked about this, right? First down, stuff them, got nothing on the run play. Kaiser stuffs them, right? And so does Batelho. It was kind of a combo deal. And then second down, they run that slant. Benjamin Morrison looks terrible. They get another first down, and I'm like, here we go, second down and long. That was such a terrible down for the defense last week. And I was like, here we go again. I remember thinking that, like, it's the second down and long. They convert a first down. Oh, boy. Then they go 3 and out after that, right? And they force a punt and get the ball back to the offense, right? So I felt like they took away that shell shock opportunity for the offense, for the defense.
And dang it, man. We went down and scored. Yeah. But it really was the fast start. They certainly thrived in that regard.
Yes, no doubt about it. Second key to success, to victory for the offense was be multiple. And of course, what you mean by that is pre-snap motion, multiple personnel, groupings and things of that nature, right? And you had a great stat in your first half
Thanks for
analysis.
using that, by the way, yesterday. I appreciated that.
The boss gives me a stat. I'm going to use it. But you had a great stat, right? Do you have it in front of you, or do you want me to look it up? Because I've got it right here.
It was off the top of my head. They ran 11 personnel. I think it was 20-some times in the first half, and they had 13 passes, times. 11 runs.
The other way.
11 passes,
13
runs.
Yep.
They ran 12 personnel 14 times, 7 runs, 7 passes. They ran 3 snaps of 21 or 22 personnel, 2 passes and 1 run.
Yep.
So not only did you have, 11 personnel has dominated the reps.
Yes.
And it was the primary usage here, but you still had, Vince, 17 snaps of non-11 personnel, which is a much bigger balance.
Correct.
And then how they used even 11 personnel, there was more bunch, wide bunch, tight bunch. There was just a lot more to it, more stacking. You saw little zip motions, like the play that should have been a touchdown to Bo Collins. He's outside, or no, Jaden Harrison's outside. Bo's in the slot. Jaden Harrison comes in and motions down to get a stack look. And that post-snap switch where Bo goes a slot fade and Jaden runs a pivot route outside, and all of a sudden both DBs come running down on Jaden Harrison and Bo Collins runs right by him. That doesn't happen if you just line up in twins and run a slot fade, right? Like stuff like that we weren't seeing. And so, like, this is what I wrote in the keys to victory. I said Notre Dame was very stagnant in the loss to Northern Illinois. The looks were basic. The pre-snap movement didn't do anything to put Northern Illinois in bad spots, and it did nothing to put Notre Dame receivers in favorable matchups. Completely opposite this week. I said I want to see Mike Denbrock mix things up. That means mixing up personnel, check. Mixing up the tempo, check. Mixing up the launch points. That means where the quarterback throws it from, check. You had sprint outs, you had bootlegs, you had play action, you had quick game, you had RPO game. You didn't always know where the quarterback was going to be in this game, as like you had in the past. So check there. Use motion to put Purdue in binds and then be more creative with how he gets his top players the ball. Check and check. I mean, he literally did everything that I hoped he would do on Saturday. I mean, literally, I just read you what I said, Vince, and it was check, 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 check. And we saw the result. And it was pretty. It was pretty.
Well, and didn't he pretty much do with the personnel changes and with the motions and the shifts and those kinds of different things, he kept Purdue's defense, off kilter, which is exactly what NIU did the week before. And we were like, why can they do it and Notre Dame can't do it? And then Notre Dame comes back this week and they do it. Yep. Right. And I hate to keep hearkening back to last week. It's not the point that I'm trying to make, but the offense wasn't very creative last week, and it wasn't executed very well with what they were even calling. So I mean, it was a double-edged sword.
Very stagnant, very slow. There was no sense of urgency. Exactly. When your game plan shows no urgency, your players will play with no urgency.
Yeah, right.
I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but
I mean, it's true though.
I kind of know that one.
Yeah, no, it's definitely true. So I think we can both agree that is a big check mark for Notre Dame.
I mean,
in the B
when I grade Vince, I kind of grade things like there's a plus, there's a check, and it's basically just you kind of did your job, right? Is a check, and then there's minuses. Like this one was a plus.
Right.
I don't do plus for the start fast because again, they scored on their first 5 drives, they scored 3 times. That was important. That was a fast start. They didn't get a plus because they also had 2 punts in there, including one that was on the 3 and out. So that was a check. You did your job. You did a fast start. Could have been better. I don't know how much better this part could have been.
Right.
And so this is a plus. This isn't just a check. This is a plus for me.
Agreed.
And very, very impressive stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And no, Gideon, I love this. Mike Denbrock listens to the Irish Breakdown podcast. Clip it. Somebody else on the board also said, like, now we know why you didn't have your Friday show. You were meeting with Denbrock and Freeman. As much as I would love to claim that, I did not meet with them. And I can assure you that this is the thing, though. It's like I know the people are being funny. No one actually thinks that. But the point is, this is the reason we said I want to, like, it would be stupid of me to sit up here and say, I want to see Mike Denbrock do something that he's never shown in past years that he's done.
Right. You're just wishing he was somebody else, basically.
Right,
yeah.
Right. But to say, okay, these are my keys to victory. Well, yeah, but you're asking him to be keys to victory, be things like that they don't do.
Right.
I know he has this in him. I've seen him do it. So it was really good to see Coach Denbrock come out and I mean, he kind of coached a little pissed off, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
And I'm okay with that. Because when Mike Denbrock gets a little pissed off, I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, no, because he's a fan of that. He pretty much lives his life in pissed off, and when he actually gets pissed off, it's great.
Wise,
that's what I meant.
Like, he's actually a really fun, like laid back kind of guy. Yeah,
like I've told the story a million times.
He's got a lot of swagger.
Like he was ribbing my kid about pickleball, like the two of them like facing off in pickleball one time. Like he's a great guy off the field, but he's very intense.
Yes,
when he's coaching,
and very confident.
Yes. And I love that.
But when he takes it to that next level where he's kind of ticked off,
exactly,
it's like, ugh.
Right,
it's not going to go well for you guys.
100%.
It's not going to go well for you guys.
But that whole nameless, faceless opponent kind of a situation.
That's not who Mike Denbrock is. Yeah, it's not who Mike Denbrock.
You know what I mean.
And that's not when Marcus Freeman's at his best. Like, don't think here's what also we didn't talk about, Vince. Here's also why yesterday was really bad for Purdue. They fired Marcus Freeman. Marcus Freeman got fired from Purdue. Remember, he was their deacon. They fired the whole staff. So not only did you get a pissed off version of Notre Dame because of what happened last week, you got a head coach who that's a little something extra for you.
Not good enough for Purdue.
Yeah. It didn't go well for them. Okay, next one.
No. Yeah, next one. So third key to victory offensively was be physical up front. And Notre Dame had a hard time with that last week. And this is a really, really good one because they needed to dominate up front, right? I mean, in order to have a good running game, and pass game for that matter, you need to be dominant up front with your line. And I think Notre Dame's offensive line definitely came to play in the run game. That's for sure.
I want to read these events because I think it actually adds context to what we saw.
Okay.
I said, look, be physical up front. Notre Dame is facing a big and veteran defense. Purdue defense that bases itself out of a 3-4 look, which they did. Purdue is going to focus on shutting down the run game with big physical bodies. The guards and centers will be especially tested, and they'll need to be on top of their game. I don't need to see Notre Dame offensive line dominate Purdue, although that would be obviously be ideal. I wrote that. All we need to see is that this unit is playing smart football, but more importantly, they're playing physical football. If they're physical and play hard and get a body on a body, the Irish have the playmakers on offense to gash Purdue. That's exactly what happened. I mean, right. I actually would argue they didn't dominate Purdue's front seven, but they leaned more towards dominate than they did just getting a body on a body.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there were some snaps where it's like, I thought Emil Wagner had his best game so far. I mean, it's 3 starts, but like up 3, he was moving people at times. I thought Billy was even better than he had been, and obviously then he got hurt. I thought Anthony Knapp, major struggles in the pass game, hit that one hold on a play, on a run play, but outside of a couple snaps here and there that they all have, I mean, he was pushing Purdue guys around. There's a couple guys I saw Anthony Knapp drive off the ball where they actually outweighed him, and he drove him off the ball. Like he was really good in the run game, and him, like you saw, Vince, you said this to me, I think before the show started. I think it was you that said this. So many phone calls.
If it was good, it was definitely me.
It was definitely you.
Yeah.
This is why Notre Dame said Sam Pendleton and Anthony Knapp won starting job.
That was me.
He's like, that was.
No,
it actually was me.
It was actually me. But, like, a little surprised.
You saw that Saturday.
Right.
Like this is why they started, because they felt they gave them the best chance to get movement in the run game.
Right.
And then you saw Ashton Craig go down. You saw Billy Schroth go down. Actually, it was a reverse order, and they still ran the football.
Yes.
Because the line fought. They weren't perfect by any stretch. There's things to clean up. But when you fight and you get a body on a body, you guys saw what happens with these playmakers. I mean, literally, Jeremiah Love has now had 2 long runs where he's literally just made a guy with a clear angle on him miss in space. I mean, that guy's right there. He jump cuts that sucker, which is lethal, and then gets in space. And it's like, why? Because you got a body on a body.
Correct.
Because look, you can't block 11 dudes because the running back's your 11th. Mm-hmm. Even if your quarterback blocks somebody,
which they usually don't,
the running back's going to have to make somebody miss.
Right.
And but when you are making guys miss and then you're not getting a body on a body and then people are flying the football, that jump cut happens and it's a 2-yard gain. Right. But here, because they were physical and they were getting a body on a body, when Jeremiah Love makes that bounce, there's nobody else there.
Yeah.
When Jadarian Price makes that first guy miss, nobody there. And then they get to go do the rest, because that's the kind of play. And the same thing with Riley Leonard, a quarterback. If you can get Leonard and Price and Love into space, there aren't a lot of teams that can stop this defense. There aren't. And we've talked about this. Purdue had a lot of guys coming back from their defense last year. And their run defense in the end of last season was pretty good. And Notre Dame made them look like they were trash. Absolute trash on Saturday. I mean, again, I talked about it. In the last 4 games of the year, Purdue gave up 110, 115, 99, and 133 yards. And they played Michigan, Minnesota, Northwestern Indiana. So not like sisters of the poor. And they had one game last year they gave up over 200 yards. That was against Syracuse. The year before that, the most they'd given up was 225. Year before that, 281. Year before that, 195. Last time they gave up this many yards was back in 2019, where they gave up over 400 yards to Wisconsin. Like, Notre Dame made them look foolish on Saturday, Vince. Absolutely foolish. And by the way, Wisconsin that day ran 55 times. Notre Dame ran the ball 44 times on Saturday. They averaged 8.2 yards per carry. And it was a lot of it's because the offensive line did their job, but they were physical. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, isn't that the question mark we had about Joe Rudolph's O-lines, and it kind of would vary week to week? Last week, I didn't think they played well, but I thought they played hard. You know, like, I didn't think the offensive line had the same soft mentality we saw from a lot of other position groups. I thought they battled. I just didn't think they played well. But this week especially, they came out and played really hard, and the results were what they were.
Well, and to your point on, the rush yards and all of that. I mean, look, all you need to do is look at the first half where they had 278 rush yards, 24 carries, 11.6 yards a carry. I mean,
I hate when people do this. Well, if you take somebody was,
I know, right?
If you take away the one long run, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. If you take away the 70-yard touchdown, that was not a typical run. It was like late. Okay, cool. They had 208 rush yards in the first half.
Right. Over 200 yards in the first half.
Still, if you take away a 70-yard touchdown, then, it's pretty good work.
Yeah. No, I would say that, yes, they definitely played physical.
So check. Actually,
yes.
For this particular thing, because it was just about being physical, not necessarily play clean all the time, I'd give it a plus. I thought they were. I mean, I don't know if this unit can play harder than what they did. So they can play better, but the point, the key to victory wasn't play a perfect game. It was be physical and then let your playmakers take over.
Right.
And
Notre Dame has plenty of playmakers in order to do that. So,
yeah.
Fourth key to victory, and I'm curious to see which direction you go with this one. So, fourth key to victory is pass game must get going. You want me to read it? I can read it if you want. Okay. Yeah. Purdue is going to dare Notre Dame to beat them throwing the football. The Boilermakers are naturally geared towards defending the run with their base defense, and they'll ramp things up even more in this game. Notre Dame can't just come out and play ground and pound and think things are fixed, even if they win. They must establish some level of balance. Denbrock needs to get his quarterback, whoever that ends up being, comfortable out of the gate, find concepts that will allow him to get into an early rhythm, work hard to get guys like Chris Mitchell and Jaden Greathouse into an early rhythm, and don't be afraid to use the talented running backs more in the pass game.
I mean, we saw all of that.
We did.
Now, are there things we want to see more of from the pass game? Yes, because what we have learned is throwing the ball effectively only means throwing bombs all game, right? Yes, correct. They need to do a better job throwing the ball down the field. For this game, however, I'm giving this a check, not a plus, but a check, because when you look at what they did, first two plays of the game were what? They were throws, although the jet sweep is considered a throw, but that's something that gets Riley Leonard into a rhythm. Next play, they do a sprint out where he completes a pass for a nice, easy 6-yard completion.
Collins, yep.
And he goes 2 of 2 for 11 yards, and they go down and score a touchdown. He also has a run. Next drive, he goes 0 for 1 and misses a check down to Jadarian Price, which right. I don't know if he could have completed that with the defender there and Jadarian being right.
He was trying to just loft it over
5'10". Yeah, Steve missed that same exact play later in the game as well. Then they run, and then on he give double outside pressure. Meal and Anthony both gave up a pressure on third down, scramble, you're punting. Come out the next drive. He goes 4 of 5 for, say, 36 yards. Right, completes a key third down play, which we'll talk about later. Which got it was not a key for it was a first down play after Jeremiah's long run got you into Purdue territory. Then he had 2 RPO completions on the drive. Come out the next drive and it's run, punt, and then you come out the next drive, you try to run it again, you go for 1, and then he completes 3 straight passes, including a key 3rd and 6 to move the chains. And then that sets up his touchdown, 34-yard touchdown. At that point in time, Vince, it's 21-0. It's ball game at that point.
Oh, yeah, because Purdue had no chance of scoring.
Yeah, and then on the last touchdown drive, he completes 2 balls for 42 yards, and including 1 on third down and then a really nice pivot route on third down. So he actually converted 2 third downs on that last touchdown drive to make it 28-0. So, yeah, it was definitely a step in the right. You got your pass game going. Is it a finished product? Of course not. Receivers need to play better. The routes were telegraphed at times. Riley's got to make better decisions, especially down the field. He's still rushing his reads, and you've got to hit a couple of those balls. You know, Anthony Knapp's the reason he missed the one to Bo Collins, but there's nobody else to blame for the in-cut miss to Jaden Thomas. Right, there's nobody to blame except for your quarterback on the 2 deep balls that Steve Angeli threw that weren't completed. Right, like both quarterbacks missed some throws that you got to make those throws in some of the bigger moments. So it's still a work in progress. But you're talking about a kid that was on pace for 224 passing yards and 200 rushing yards.
Right.
I'd say you got because he had 112 yards and 100 passing and 100 yards rushing. I'd say you got it going. And, again, is it a foundational building point? Yes. But it was definitely a step in the right direction. 11 of 16 for 112 yards in the first half.
That's a 69% completion percentage.
Right.
Like we talked a lot in the summer about what we wanted to see from a completion percentage and all that. I mean, if he's pushing 70% completion percentage in that game,
which is not something I'm like, oh my God, because you do a lot of short passes. You should be around 69%, but he should have been around that level in last game, and he wasn't. And so, yes, you got the pass game going. It was definitely a good step in the right direction. Are we sitting there saying, like, this is my frustration with this conversation that people are having? It's, if he doesn't do this, it means he still sucks.
Right, exactly.
Okay, like, if you're going to have a real football conversation, you can say, hey, listen, acknowledge he did this well, he did that well, he did this well, he did that well. That's a good step. However, looking forward, that was enough to beat Purdue by 59. You didn't need to throw the ball down the field against Purdue. Purdue was like, you could dominate them without that. However, building for the future, in some of these other games, you may not be able to beat those teams who are better than Purdue with that same game plan, especially now that there's film on it.
Right.
So, yes, there are absolutely improvements need to be made. But this was also improvements from what we saw the first two games. And that's the key. Now build on it. Now get better next week. Now, because like even on the slot fade, maybe he could have got rid of the ball a little bit quicker. Maybe. Like on the throw where people are like, oh, he should have, when he's scrambling, I don't even care about that as much because guys are going to miss guys on scrambles all the time. I care more about stick with the read because you see them fly. Like as a quarterback, if I got a guy going that way and the guys that are covering him are flat-footed, he's going to get open. Stick with that and then get that ball downfield before he even gets to the scramble and all that other stuff. Right? Because Riley Leonard's type of quarterback, when he scrambles, he's more often than not going to run.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to see him make that play in the pocket. And it wasn't a difficult read. He just rushed it.
Sure.
His feel isn't there yet, but it was certainly better in the pass game than what we saw the first two games. And that's the key. And you saw it when he throws the ball and completes balls, even 6-yard gain, 12-yard gain, the offense went down and scored. When he didn't, or the offense didn't allow, because remember the fourth drive where they didn't score was literally 3 straight runs, or 2 straight runs in a scramble because he got literally both tackles gave up pressures. But when he got time and he went through his reads, he made plays. Now it's about taking the next step. Agreed. And that's my whole frustration with this. People say, oh, can we not complain? If you're going to complain, at least have a sound argument.
Yeah, don't just say he sucks. He sucks.
Right? Like you're still arguing about last week. Last week was terrible. Nobody is defending that. This week was not. This is brilliant passing. No, it was good, and it complemented your run game really well. Now, moving forward, I want to see better. I want to see an even better performance against Louisville than I saw today, because you're going to need that against Louisville.
Of course.
You didn't need it today. What you needed in this game against Purdue was progress. You needed development, progress. And we certainly saw that.
Yeah, and he was not terrible throwing the football this week. That's a lazy take. I'm sorry. It's just a lazy take. He was not terrible throwing the football this week.
There's a lot of that going on right now.
Just you don't throw for 70% completion if you're terrible at throwing the football. That's it. That's all I'm going to say about that particular thing. So we're going to get
sucked into that.
We're going to give this a check mark and call it a day. Correct? That's where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Just wanted to make sure.
So what do we get? We got 3 checks and two checks and 2 pluses.
Yeah, that's a pretty good day.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good day.
Yeah.
So I am okay with that as well.